All right, hello everyone. I think I have just completed the most up-to-date revision of my dissertation proposal. So it's Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. It's currently 12:03 a.m. I totally need to go to sleep, but I also just want to record this so that I could get it on the channel and just have it live there as a marker of progress. Here we go. Here is a radically altered perspective on mistake making in the performing arts. This is an attempt to reveal insight into the consequences of performance, accidents, and mistakes. It assumes the viewpoints of a performer, researcher, and teacher because I am all three. Written as a soliloquy with practical and metaphorical contexts, examining a performer's edge, precipice, and abyss. First, allow me to orient myself. Imagine that performance is analogous to an expression machine, like a Rube Goldberg machine. That the performer, a person, is both a wave and particle of energy that activates and navigates the machine. And through the machine's complicated mechanism and apparatus, the performer travels. Energy is transferred from one internal mechanism to the next, always transforming indeterminately throughout toward an end. Where the performer intends to get through every transition, articulation, and mechanical mechanism successfully, to arrive conclusively at one final fluid throughput of expression. And imagine that a performer's duty, their role in society, is to accomplish this task effortlessly. And imagine the expectation placed on this performer by both self and audience to accomplish this task in only one take. One chance to perform fluidly, to render the expressive material with accuracy, affect, and ease. Now consider the number of mistakes and accidents a performer endures during rehearsal and preparation for performance, and how those mistakes are wholly separate from accidents in the way that they take form and function, where mistakes spring from within and accidents from without. Consider the eventual resiliency of a finely tuned machine developed through performance practice. Consider, too, the mistakes that occur during live performance, regardless of preparation. Consider that some mistakes are catastrophic to the performance, while others are skillfully made to appear deliberate and maintain control. See that accidents can be catastrophic too, although the performer has no agency in their origin. Some events require the performer to reset, to initiate a second take. Some can be survived and endured. Some may even be a departure and arrival points inherent into the machine itself, transformative in nature, not destructive. So then, consider the quality of the performance from the audience-performer perspective in its shared totality. The meaning that performer and audience make together amidst expression and perception in real time and in retrospect. With these considerations all entangled, and their influences on performance given due affordances as the machinations of the expression machine, we can actually arrive and be situated with what I would like to write about: mistake making in the performing arts. Mistake making is a new concept applied to the performing arts, built by compounding two circumstances that arise during performance. Primarily, the circumstance where a performer makes a mistake. The performer is the agent of the action in this situation. A mistake dwells on one side or the other of the edge of intent. Mistake making is when a performer begins sliding precipitously and sometimes falling completely into an abyss of failure. Sometimes the performer can claw their way back, sometimes not. That all depends on skill. And secondarily, the circumstances when Through no fault of their own, the performer is subjected to conditions out of their control. An accident occurs. The performer still must react and respond to the accident, but from a performer audience perspective, nobody believes that what is happening stems from the performer themselves. Accidents fit within mistake making because the performance itself deviates from its purest original form. As soon as that deviation takes place in a manner perceptible to the performer and audience, we have situated ourselves in this compounded concept of mistake making. I think there is something terribly beautiful revealed when we recognize mistake making for its role in the lives of performers. It is a thing of sheer terror. It is the thing which stands in the way of maintaining our integral duty to perform effortlessly. And since performance itself is ephemeral, the quality of that performance is what becomes tangible during and long after it occurs. That's what makes live performance such a valuable experience. The high quality of that experience is sought out because it gives the performer and audience a unique yet inextricably connected social reality which persists within perceptions of affect, meaning, and sensation. These things we hold so preciously dear, the enrichment and enlivenment of our existence. So the first essential question begins to form. How do I recognize performance accidents? Well, consider the environmental elements necessary to engage in performance. What objects are in the performance space? In what timing do they arrive? For what purpose? What is the materiality of setting within which the performance, performer, and audience reside? What is touched and externally felt, interacted with, and physically influential to the performance itself? How does this materiality influence performer and audience? In what ways do these things develop a probability to initiate mistake making? What taxonomic categories can be built to illustrate the intersection of environment and performance as they relate to mistake making? How can we pay attention to the way we use materials in the process of performance? And then the second essential question begins to form. How do I know a mistake as distinct from an accident? Consider the human body, which is necessary to engage in performance. What conditions are in the embodied space? How granular can they be identified? What probabilistic and deterministic factors arise from within the performer themselves? What is known, predicted, and perceived? Awareness. And how does it affect performance? How does this electromagnetic expression of patterns manifest a performative experience? In what ways do these patterns trace back to the efficaciousness of skill and technique? And what taxonomic categories can be built to illustrate the intersection of human being and performance as they relate to mistake making? With all of these questions adrift, mistake making in the performing arts becomes much more than a search for failure or a commentary on virtuosity. It is an invitation to transform the techniques of performance practice. There we go. Enjoy. 12:12 a.m. See you later.